started, don't forget that right down below in the chat box, you can network and talk with everyone that's going to be attending this event. All right. You're going to be able to ask questions to our speaker directly. And if you can't get to them right away, we'll answer the questions at the very end. And then lastly, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the up and coming events that we have across the board. So as we come into the holidays, Quest, we love to still see people participating in events, doing investments, doing deals. So we do our best to host as many things as possible for all you guys out there. So the first thing is remember, guys, that as a self-directed custodian, Quest, we never can endorse an investment. We can't tell you if an investment is good or if an investment is bad. So when you're attending these events, please take it seriously. Talk to the presenters, talk to the individuals that were on here. They're going to give you their personal information for you to reach out. You always, always, always want to do your own due diligence. Now, as we get started, right before we do, and I bring on our current guest speaker, I want to remind you guys about this coming Saturday. Every Saturday at noon Central Time, we do a big event. There's on average about 100 people on. And this Saturday, we're going to be doing a special one that involves multifamily. Now, I know it seems like Quest has been doing a lot of multifamily investing lately, or at least been having a lot of presenters on, but it's because it has been blowing up. It really, really has. When you think of what the multifamily groups are doing, this is all comes down to the next generation of people that are, as they get older, they're less comfortable owning their own home. They're actually more comfortable living in some sort of apartment complex. In addition, right, there's more and more people always moving to the new cities. So make sure you attend this coming Saturday's event. Starts at noon Central Time. So without any further ado, I see a lot of people still kind of joining on and stuff. I'm going to bring on our big speaker today. He has been investing in real estate and has a unique way for not only accredited investors, but non-accredited investors to use their self-directed IRAs, invest in real estate, and get pretty much fantastic returns. So Doug, are you here on the call with us today?
All right.
Awesome.
I'm here.
Hey Doug, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Doing great. So pretty much I'm going to let you take it away. As questions come in, we can either save the questions for the end or anything like that, but I'm just going to let you, start off and do your thing.
Okay, I'm going to see if I can share my screen. Let's get that right here.
Sounds good.
That didn't do anything. There we are. Okay, did that work?
That is perfect.
Okay, folks, it's good to kind of meet all of you here today. Derek, I appreciate the invitation to join this webinar. We're very focused on getting the education message out about how self-directed IRAs are so integral to so many folks who don't believe they can invest in alternatives. And we're very excited about the fact that they can. I personally am one. That's how I invested into real estate, including my current company. And so I want to talk about that today. Folks, I appreciate you once again coming along here. Let me see if I can make this thing move forward. It is not moving. There we go. My name is Doug McAllister. I am the president of the Paradyme Companies. The Paradyme Companies is made up of a couple of divisions. It's a consulting side for real estate prior to what's called entitlement, which is a fancy word that means they have the permission to build. And then from there, it's the equity and debt side of raising funds to actually build these real estate projects. And we've done over $1.5 billion in business to date, and with a lot more coming. And we have really enjoyed the opportunity to get to know folks in the process of this and do some really fun things together. What we're going to be talking about today is not theoretical to me. I want to make this really clear to everyone. This is kind of the culture of Paradyme. The story I want to share with you is about my mom and dad. My father passed this past year, and my mother about 10 years ago. But prior to all of that, they were, years before, they were, like everybody, he was the pastor. And, pastors didn't make a lot of money, but he was trying to work on how they can create money and revenue to have a retirement someday, so he and mom can, have fun after years and years of pastoring around the country. And so they came across this guy in the church that he was pastoring in Yuma, Arizona at the time. And this guy had this really good investment idea, and it was to invest in some airport land in Tucson, Arizona. and they know the guy, they liked him, and several other people in the church were doing it. And so they said, okay, and they put $20,000 of money they really didn't have into that investment and lost every penny. We want you to know that when you're considering investing, from our own personal experience, we understand the fact that this money you're considering putting into someone's hands to hopefully make you money, that this money is not budget dust. It's important to you. It's money that's going to impact you. It's going to maybe impact your kids, maybe impact your retirement, and may not have the ability to just lose it. And so we're going to talk about how you can avoid that story happening to you or to your loved ones, and why that's important, especially in this whole world right now, the stock market. All this going ups and downs and things like that. So let's talk about that. Let's going forward here. The stock market itself, since World War II, it's had so many corrections, and the whole point behind this whole slide here, we're not going to be able to get through all of the details of it, nor do I intend to. My whole point of it is that it corrects itself over and over and over again. According to this slide, it's happened 26 times since World War II. And those times of corrections are to me, why I have diversified out. It's simply this, is that if I have money, and I do, in the stock market, and I'm here at the stock market, and then I lose 10% of it, and about 6 months later, I'm able to get that 10% back, and I'm back to where I started. In many cases, we think, yay, that's great. We got our money back. But what I didn't like was I just lost 6 months of earning potential. So I started looking for ways to not lose that 6 months, so that even if it's incrementally, it's over that 6 months, I'm still gaining. I'm still building my wealth over time. And so I began to look other places in the stock market. The volatility there right now, they're talking about 3 or 4 different outcomes. Even now, as we've dealt with the elections, it's kind of going up and down. I've watched it this morning with the stock market. It's just all over the place. And it always amazes me. And some of you probably can identify the things that seem to flick the switch on the volatility. My cat didn't eat its dinner last night, therefore the stock market goes. It seems to be so unrelated, or even so unimportant, and yet there are some things that just the fears and the skittishness that make the stock market go up and down, which plays into the scenario I just talked about, is that when it's going down, you've lost that period of time of earning potential. And that's something that I'm not satisfied with. Now, once again, I'm not saying I'm in the stock market, but I'm also in real estate for a reason. And that is because I felt like I needed to find something that was more secure, that allowed me the opportunity to have an ongoing increase in my wealth building. My problem was I didn't know how to do it. In that time, it wasn't a situation where I just had some extra money in the bank, and I was just, and that money was just sitting there, didn't have anything to do with it. And so I didn't have that, but I wanted to diversify in some way. But there were all the tax issues of, well, if I take it out of my 401k, or in that case for me, it was a single K, if I take it out and I'm going to have to pay taxes, it was all a big mess for me. Until someone introduced me to the concept of the self-directed IRA. See, I was questioning mediocrity resorts, and by questioning the mediocrity, that was the first step I had towards finding the answers I needed to get where I wanted to go. So I started checking into, well, how can I transfer this money from here to here, and do it such a way to do it in a very tax smart way. And that's what I did. I was introduced to a self-directed IRA company, and I was able to just like this one, and I was able to move my money from here to there. And as a result, voila, I'm now a real estate investor. And in my case, it was real estate. Alternative investments, alternative assets are anything, as far as definitions are concerned, they can be anything that are, I'll put it this way, anything that is not stock market. Is that the best way to put it? Is alternative investment is something that is like real estate, or it could be. I have colleagues that are in oil and gas. I have colleagues that are in life estates. I have colleagues in the real estate asset class, but they're focused on just office space or just hospitality or just those things. But it's the whole idea behind it is that the opportunity to invest in alternative assets is only growing. You can see there by 2030, the 60-40 ratio that's happening there. So you have the opportunity there. And I suspect that every one of you who are on this webinar today understand that. That's why you're here. You're looking for someplace else, another way to diversify. And I can tell you right now, and let me be very clear, you're talking to a good company. With this IRA company, they can walk you through to get your money from here to there in very, very simple ways. And what I like about these companies that do this is they know what they're doing. And that's important because once again, just like with Paradyme, your investment is not budget dust. With this IRA company, that's the same way they look at it. They have to be very careful with your investment and be a custodian for what you're doing. You have made a decision that you want to move from A to B. They're the custodian that helps you do that. And that's what they did for me. That's how it worked for me. And it, once again, ushered me into the age of investing in real estate. Why real estate? There's a whole lot of what they call dry powder globally right now, people holding on to their money. You know, the folks that have the billionaires and the high net worth individuals, they're not losing money in the stock market. They're holding on to it in many cases. And in many cases, what they're looking for is they want to place that dry powder, that money that's sitting on the sidelines, they want to place that dry powder into real estate. This pandemic that we've been dealing with, I just posted on LinkedIn. I would encourage you all to join me on LinkedIn as well. You can follow what we're doing. But this did not cause this shift for real estate. It accelerated it. It was already there. Folks were looking at what happened to the stock market as a result of COVID and those impacts and got really tired of the volatility. And so all of a sudden, there's a whole lot more money heading toward the real estate asset class. The signs of recovery are beginning along those lines, and that's important because we have a window of time at this point to take advantage of the fact that there's money to be found there to create the funds into which you can invest that will allow you to become a real estate investor. But right now is the time. We always talk around the office about how we want to watch the big boys. We want to see what they're doing, and then just follow along and such. And so when they're focused on real estate, we pay attention to that. When they start focusing on multifamily, we pay attention to that. When they start focusing on residential, we pay attention. We pay attention to what they're paying attention to. And that way allows us to talk to them about placing their funds into our funds and allows us to invest in real estate. Now is an important time for real estate. It's probably more than I think I've ever seen it with regard to, I'm in California. And just the lack of housing and the push to build more housing and more multifamily and more office and industrial and all of those things is really huge in California, juxtaposed against the legislative gridlock that kind of makes that hard. And so what it does, by the combination of the two, it allows us here in California to really have a huge window of opportunity for building real estate, building into the residential sectors. And it's when correctly underwritten, and I'm going to talk about that here in a minute, but when correctly underwritten, these investments can be very stable, can have very high yields, and end up with very strong value and become a very, very important part of your portfolio. Here's a few things that are the attributes of the real estate asset class today. It's a very offensive position. I don't mean that negatively. I mean it's on the offense. It's a great capacity to take advantage of current pricing opportunities. You've got the existing exposure. You've got the post-COVID tailwinds are going to push things along even further. And then there's the boots on the ground investment, the asset management teams that where you understand the specific market area that you're looking into that asset. That allows for your underwriting to be very, very precise. It also defends you against, because it's very low leverage, but you have less volatility down on the down risk side. You get long-term leases, so there's some security there. You get high, the occupancy rates are high. Even with office, we've discovered that we would think with COVID, right now I'm doing this webinar from my home office, but you would think with COVID that because of that, the office sector would be hurting. And we're finding no, it's not only is it not hurting, but because of the restrictions of social distancing, they need more space because they can't cram them into the offices anymore. So even office has opportunity at this point. We have another opportunity that we actually are funding is a winery resort here in my area here in Southern California. Normally we wouldn't be doing hospitality, but we just know this region. We have the boots in the ground understanding of this region, and this is really turning into a stellar opportunity. So you have the discipline exposure of these different asset classes, and you have a disciplined city selection. You understand what's going on in the region wherein you're looking to invest. This is what's projected right now, the attributes of the asset classes going forward. Office is going better. Retail is going to be a struggle, we believe, but there's opportunities there. You just have to be very specific about what region you're in. Industrial, housing, debt is huge. Folks looking to build, folks looking to fix and flip homes, looking for debt for construction. That's going to be huge as well. We're very focused on that too. But this current market offers all kinds of opportunity, as long as you're very strategic about it. But it's going to allow you to diversify into this alternative in such a way that it's going to give you more security for your retirement and your wealth building goals. It all comes down to this, folks, and this is what I want to really drive home. I've tried to rush through the first part because I wanted to get to this. Whether it is real estate, oil and gas, it could be a venture capital play, whatever asset class, alternative asset class you're looking at, please, please, please pay attention to this slide right here. I call this my 5 A's of underwriting. We focus at Paradyme on what I would call forensic underwriting. I want to know by the time I'm done everything possible about everything of the deal. And so here are the 5 A's, and you can apply these 5 A's of underwriting to anything you're considering. And if you're looking to work and invest into a firm like Paradyme or somebody else, you need to ask them about their underwriting. And if they don't come back to you with some sort of an answer like what I'm about to tell you, think twice. All I'll say is think twice, because this is not budget dust again. It's important that this gets done right. The first A is accounting. That's the numbers. And that's the basics. You're looking at performance. You're running the numbers through the years if it's a 5-year hold, a 3-year hold, a 10-year hold, what's going to be the passive income play, what's going to be your upside at the other end, and that's the accounting numbers, and making sure it's not just looking at what they provide for you, but making sure those numbers are accurate. Doing the research to make sure that when they say asphalt costs X, it really does cost X, not 2X. Understanding that if they say that they can build this multifamily for X, but the conditions of approval are going to make it 2X, you need to be able to look at the accounting and making sure the numbers are real. And that leads into the next A, is accumulate, which kind of feeds into, you've got to start accumulating documents. When we are doing a project, a Paradyme, I get tax returns, I get references, I get resumes, I get pro formas, I get everything possible from the sponsor, and then I go through and check them against each other and review every one of those to make sure I have got all the information possible. I want to see bills of sale. I want to see when they have a bid. I want to read the contracts they have with the contractors. I want to know everything possible about that deal, and that helps me understand the accounting as well. But we start accumulating documents, which leads into the third A, the actors, the sponsors, the folks who are bringing this deal that we're going to try to fund for you. We want to know about them. We do background checks. We have Paradyme does this, is that we have an FBI level program that we're able to use, where we'll do background checks on all the players in the deal to find out, do they have felonies? Have they had bankruptcies? Have they had projects in the past that have failed? We're doing all kinds of checks on these actors, on these sponsors, on these developers, to make sure they are who they say they are. Sometimes, unfortunately, many times they are not. And so when we find out that they are not, we choose not to do business with them. They may be nice people now, but we can't risk your money. We only want to work with the top tier developers in this thing. Then we check into the fourth level, which is getting really granular at this point, which is I call it the atmosphere, where it's the boots on the ground. In my background, I was in elected office for 12 years. I was a mayor of a local city here. And so through the process of that, I was able to gain access into all levels of government from Washington, D.C., all the way down to the local level. And so I'm able to get my foot in the door in places, and we use that to benefit our investors in this way. What we try to do is that when we have a project in a location, it could be in California, we have, it could be Denver, it could wherever it might be. And we have done all these other A's so far, accounting, accumulate. We've looked at the actors. We've heard the stories. My next step there is to go to that location. I will meet with the mayor. I'll meet with the city managers. I'll meet with the development directors and the planning directors. I'll meet with the Chamber of Commerce CEOs. I'll meet with whoever I can meet with and ask them one question. What don't I know? What is it about this project that I do not know? Just by doing that thing, that one step, which is time intensive, by doing that one step, what we have found out, I've been able to save our investors tens of millions of lost dollars. We had one issue in the Denver area a couple of years ago where it was a huge project in what's called an opportunity zone. It sounded really, really sexy. It looked good. We went through the accounting. We got through all that. We accumulated all kinds of documents. The actor with the sponsor appeared to be a very seasoned developer and such. And so, but there was something about it that just didn't seem right to me. And so I called the mayor of that city and talked to them, talked to a couple of other people, and found out that the project not only was going to be denied, but it would be unanimous denial. And in fact, it was. And we were able to pull out of that without ever getting any more involved, saving our investors millions of dollars. This is the kind of thing you want to do in your underwriting. You need to know what's going on, kicking that dirt. And finally, this last A is accountability. Accountability is that when we are investing into a project, it isn't like we put the money there and walk away. We become joint partners with that developer. And then we have full control over draw requests, how the money is spent, and reverse engineering and value engineering and all of those kinds of things to see to it that the money that is supposed to go for the lumber goes for the lumber. In fact, we put cameras on the sites, and we can actually see the lumber being delivered. So we're very much watching the bookkeeping of this thing and making sure that on that side of things, the money goes where it goes. And then on the other side, making sure the revenue, the returns get back to you as they're supposed to. Very, very complicated, but very sophisticated software to make sure that you get what you need when you need it. And you also are able to every day look and see where your investment is. You can look at the camera, you can look online and see with the money, how it's doing, and you can see exactly how that investment's going. So the accountability that we hold the sponsor to, we want you to hold us to. That's how we round out those 5 A's of underwriting. That's basically the story, folks. Let me get back to this. That's basically the story that we have. I would encourage each of you, if you wouldn't mind, if you would go ahead and take a look at this slide here. Love to have you link up with me on LinkedIn and such, but look us up, check out our websites. But what I want to finish off with, and we'll have some questions here, but I really want to finish off with here is that you've already taken a good step. If you're on this webinar and you're looking to diversify and you've understood that, here we are with a self-directed IRA opportunity, you already know more than most investors do. So I want to encourage you at this point to take those next steps, do your research, go through the 5 A's of underwriting and such, and you have the opportunity to diversify in such a way so that you can build your wealth in a more secure and a highly revenue generated fashion. And that a lot of folks are doing right now, and we're very excited about being part of that. So Derek, back to you.
Excellent. Well, don't go anywhere. So we get some questions and stuff asked and answered today. So one of the things that popped up is how many years has just Paradyme Investments been in business?
Cumulatively, it's been for like centuries. We've all been involved in real estate for probably, I've been involved in one way or another for about 20 years. Our CEO and founder, Ryan Garland, has been doing this for 15 plus years. Ryan is, I walked away from another business to join Ryan in this. He's younger than I am. He's probably almost half my age. But the guy's a genius when it comes to structuring deals and such. He's done well over $1 billion in business in this way, in this whole discussion of real estate and funding and investment. And his ability to structure the deals, understand the rules and regulations of doing that were off the charts. And so my role was to come on board and scale the company to grow it larger and to see to it that we do it in such a way that we grow correctly, not too fast, but not too slow.
So is there a part of the country, because you do business in real estate wise across the U.S., is that right?
Say that again, I'm sorry.
You do business in the U.S. everywhere, right?
Yes.
So
right.
when we see people do business everywhere in the U.S., like, is there a certain state or anything that you find to have better rates of return, or whether it's a single family or a multifamily, something like that?
Good question. I'm going to handle it a little different way. Coming to the answer from a different direction. We are more granular than that. We get, our deal sourcing is huge. We get tons of deals run our way and such. And some would say like California, you don't want to do business in California. However, we have found some really great opportunities in California. And so we like to go bypass the stereotype of each state and move right into the city, if you will, or if it's in the county, and figure out what that market is like and what makes that difference. I'll give you an example. The winery resort that we're funding is right here in this area where I'm sitting in right now. Most times folks wouldn't even put money into that, but we know this area. We know what's happening here. We know we have 22 million people right around this area, that even in COVID, this winery resort is thriving. And because people aren't flying anywhere, they're taking day trips now. And the fact that the winery resort is in one of the top 10 wine destinations in the world kind of helps as well. So from the outside, if you're looking at it, you go, no, I don't want to put my money there. But when you do the 5 A's of underwriting, you discover that's probably a good one. And had we not done that, we would have missed an opportunity. So whether it could be Florida, it could be New York, it could be Denver, no matter where it is, we'll drill down into that level and then make a decision about its viability that way.
If someone does go through like investments with your group and things, do they have like a individual level of security and things? As an example, a lot of our clients, like when they first get started, they may start doing a promissory note, right? So if they lend money, they have like a deed of trust or something on a single family home. But with your group, I don't think that's going to be like a real possible from that exact standpoint. So what would be like the security and stuff involved from your guys' standpoint of view?
When we invest into anything, we're always first. It's based on deed of trust, and so we're the first to get paid. And we do this leveraging such that if for whatever reason that fails, we get the project, and because we get the project, now we can sell them and make everybody whole. When folks invest into our funds, they become a member of the fund, and then there's the fund that invests into the project. And so, like we have our Reg A fund, it's our diversified asset fund, as an example. We'll put tons of projects into that fund, and we'll see the projects. You go on our website, you'll see projects in that fund, but you're investing not in those projects, you're investing into the fund. And those various projects, say we have 10 projects and one of them fails, the other 9 picks up the other. So it picks up the slack, and it protects the investor. So we're always putting these things together so that, first of all, we're the first to get paid because we're the first trustee. And we're partners with the projects. It's not like we're just putting the money there and walking away. We're literally JVing with these folks, and then we make sure that the values are there. That's part of that underwriting to make sure those numbers work. And it takes a lot to get in our platform for those reasons. If they get past those 5 A's, they're stellar projects.
So one thing, this is not from anyone in the chat box or anything. This is from me personally. Okay, but one thing I picked up when you were speaking was that you guys have always had the ability to switch between, I'm going to say, the public market, stocks and stuff, to the private market, like real estate, tangible assets. How do you figure out when's the good time to go left and right?
Well, I'm not sure I understand. We're not part of the stock market side.
Oh, okay. No, that's good. Okay.
No, we don't. I was in stock market, and as an individual investor in the stock market, I looked at the stock market and go, it's time, because I didn't like the volatility. I didn't like those periods of troughs where I wasn't gaining revenue. My investment was not doing well. Even if 6 months later it was even again, I still lost 6 months. And so I personally made the decision to move a portion of my investment out of the stock market into this asset class. I would say whatever asset class that folks choose, if you're looking at those things, that's your choice. For me, it was real estate. And the reasons for real estate is because I'm looking at the way we do business and going, this is a whole lot more secure. This is a whole lot more stable. And I'm not going to have those troughs along the way. And so I made the personal decision, and I did it through a self-directed IRA.
One that just came in on Facebook was the difference between the accredited and non-accredited investors. You guys allow for both. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, so that was an easy one.
Yeah. The basic difference, and there's been some changes of late. With the SEC, but generally speaking, you make $250,000 a year. You have over $1 million in net worth. You're considered an accredited investor. The SEC has since augmented that to say that if you, I'm not really sure how they do this, but if you can show that you have some seasoning in the investment world, that applies as well. The other side of that is everybody else who don't make $250,000 a year, who maybe don't have $1 million in net worth. And so those folks are considered non-accredited investors. So we have the ability to take, through our Reg A, that's everybody, accredited and non-accredited. And then in our Reg Ds, we have the discretion to include a certain small number of non-accredited, but they need to be seasoned investors.
Man, so we just kind of from a closing standpoint, is there anything in addition that you're that you want to add and stuff just before we kind of close everything out? Man, this was great, Doug. It really was. So is there anything in addition that you wanted to kind of just touch on?
I would really encourage folks, and I would encourage you folks to do this with every presenter. Follow them on LinkedIn. That's going to help you have a higher level of understanding of who we are doing these presentations. Yeah, it's part of your due diligence. And so I don't know if you can still see my screen or not, but it's Doug McAllister, and just check me out on LinkedIn. Here's my face. You'll find that face. You'll find me. I would encourage that. I also encourage you, and just because this is an important decision. Okay, I don't know how else to say that. Folks, you are considering to make moves in a very interesting time with your money. So this is an important decision. So I would encourage you, ask the questions. Derek can answer questions as far as they can go legally and be a custodian for all of this. But for those of us who are on the other side that you may direct your money to, ask the questions of us. We'll tell you about the details. Paradyme has a whole division just focused on this very thing that helps people use IRA companies like Derek's to move their money and walk you through that. And you'll be educated. Ask the question, and at the end of the day, you make a decision. But it's not budget dust. I don't care how much money you do or don't have. Don't be frivolous with it. My parents were. They weren't sophisticated about the investment sides of things. Now, thank God, as time went on, they were able to figure that out, and they did much better and did very, very well. But that was part of their learning experience. And so I'd like to help you avoid that learning experience and just ask those questions.
That is awesome, Doug. So if anyone wants to get in contact with him, right there on the screen, you can see his contact info. Email either Doug or contact@paradymeinvestments.com. And then on average, how quick does it take for anyone on your team to respond? Pretty quick, right? Because I know I've worked.
Well, if they do it with Doug at paradymeincompanies.com, my email, It'll be almost immediate. I will within 24 hours, if not sooner. I'll respond.
Awesome. Well, Doug, thank you so much for coming on, dude. I can't wait to have you back on, and make sure you have a good Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving's right around the corner and stuff.
Yeah.
So.
You all too. And Derek, thanks for inviting me. It's been a real pleasure.
Absolutely. So thanks, Doug. Once I click the little red button, we're all heading out. So.
Bye, guys.
All right. Bye, guys.